also assembling a long list that will hopefully grow to be added to the names in these brass, though I like to think of them as golden.
Golden, yeah, golden.
Bricks that will adorn the ramp to get in here, because that's an important way of not only documenting the impacts that the wreck has had on the lives of local talents who have used it, who have trained here, who have grown up here, but also to inspire future generations who may be using the Recreation Centre. Some amazing, not only sportsmen and women have started their careers in the rec, but also inspirational coaches and trainers like Stedman, who are visionaries and who are working really hard to uplift and uphold the young people that use the rec especially. And so often it's the kind of young users who are particularly in need, who often get neglected or forgotten about. So it's an opportunity to inspire new generations of users, as well as to celebrate and preserve and document the amazing people that have impacted on the Recreation Centre. So a lot of the work that I do in Brixton is do walking tours. That was an example of an exhibition that I did at Lambeth Town Hall just before COVID about a photographer called Harry Jacobs, who had a photographic studio on Landor Road for around 50 years. I was involved with the Engineer Anthony Crosby mural. That was the first mural of its kind above the steps at Brixton train station. And then I just love this picture because the handsome man in the black on the left, his name is Professor Sir Henry Beckles. He's the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, and he is also the chair of the CARICOM Reparations Commission. And the struggle for reparations and for the recognition of the damage that was done to the Caribbean and its people through enslavement and colonialism is a vital part of, I think, is arguably going to be the struggle for the next century. And what Rob is describing with contested histories is an important part of that reparative action as well. So one of the things that I was thinking about when this project was initiated was looking at ways in which I could identify some activities, movements, meetings, struggles that took place here that, yes, was alongside the recreation and the sports as well. So this is one of them, black communities struggling and living together, which was a conference based on relationships. And this was about mostly romantic relationships, both straight relationships and queer, but also looking at family dynamics. That was a conference that was held here and supported by the GLC. And I just want to mention, since it says at the bottom, London Against Racism. So some of you might be familiar with the GLC, the Greater London Council, as it was led by local boy Ken Livingston, who didn't go to Stedman School, but Stedman went to William Penn. So the leader of the GLC at the time that it was abolished was Ken Livingston, who went to Tulsa Boys, for those of you that don't know. And for 6 years, the Greater London Council was a anti-racist, anti-sexist, pro-LGBT, pro-disability, democratically elected government, which was very quickly abolished by Margaret Thatcher. But one of the things that they did do as they were being wrapped up is that they held a year of anti-racism. And they challenged London councils to rename buildings after black and Asian people. So in Lambeth, we've got Paul Robeson House, who was an African-American activist, actor with the voice of an angel. Paul Robeson House was in South Lambeth. We've got Mary Seacole House in Clapham. We got eventually got Olive Morris House on Brixton Hill. Angela Davis Industrial Estate. What else was there? A Bhopal House to commemorate the victims of the Bhopal disaster in India. We've got Max Roach Park as well. Almost all of those buildings over a series of years have been lost because they've been sold. Olive Morris House is the most recent one of those to go. But the activity or in Brixton Recreation Centre was also part of that anti-racist struggle as well. So that is an important thing to recognise. And also some exhibitions that happened here. Some of you may be familiar with the anti-war exhibition that happened in, I think, 2018 in the basement of the Rec, when artists removed their work from the Design Museum where it was on display, because the Design Museum was hosting a military weapons fair. At the time there was this exhibition on anti-war art. But the Rec had been used for exhibitions before then as well. This is marketing for the Creation for Liberation exhibition. I think number 2 was held at the Rec. The first one was held at St Matthew's Church in Brixton. The Creation for Liberation exhibitions were an initiative by Linton Kwesi-Johnson, who is a, it sounds small to call him a local writer and poet, because he's probably one of the best known poets in the country. Linton Kwesi-Johnson, the founder of Dub Poetry, who mixed poetry written in the vernacular of Jamaica in patois, in our nation language, and reggae music to create a social commentary of the time. He also realised that, as Claudia Jones, another local activist, said, people's art is the genesis of their freedom. He also realised that. And the Creation for Liberation exhibitions of contemporary black art in Britain were some of the first root shows about black art and black artists. And they were all held in Brixton at various venues in Brixton. There you go. This manifesto explains it better than I do. The Creation for Liberation was born out of the struggles of the black community and is engaged in for freedom. And so there was a huge aspect, but it culminated in this annual exhibition, one of which was held here downstairs at the Recreation Centre. Now this is a photo from that exhibition. For those of you who may recognise the man on the left-hand side in the pink shirt, his name is John LaRose. He was a very important Caribbean activist, trade unionist, publisher in London, from North London unfortunately, but there you go. And the guy that some of you may recognise in the kind of mustard coloured jumper, his name is James Baldwin, celebrated African American writer. Brixton Recreation Centre was a point and a centre for culture as well. Now, I was asking Stedman as to why the Afri boxing club is named Afri. So Afri, and I'm pronouncing it wrong, so Stedman will correct me. But Afri is a patois word from Jamaica. It means ours, basically. Or Afri, but it means ours, yeah, our. As in belonging to us, belonging to the plural us. There was also a supplementary school on Gresham Road, part of the Gresham Road project, called the Afri Supplementary School. It's Afri, and the Gresham Road project was just behind us on Gresham Road. Did you go there? No? Just behind us on Gresham Road. Yes, and this was held at the Ebeng Centre. So the Ebeng, which is now the Caribou, another important space to the Caribbean, Jamaican community and Caribbean community in Bristol. So many activists came out of the Gresham Road project, so I'm just going to name if the microphone works. One of them is Girling Bean. Girling Bean is seen as the mother of the Black Women's Movement in the UK. She was one of the only 2 Black women to attend the 1970 Women's Liberation Conference in Oxford, as well as Anson Wong. Anson Wong is a carnivalist as well as an educator. He started his career off as a teacher with the African Saturday School. So there are long connections, even though I hate the word, synergies, of the use of the language and symbols that are languages or words and symbols talking about self-determination, and liberation that are also represented in how people think about and use the rec as well. So basketball obviously is celebrated at the rec. Jimmy Rogers, the grandfather of British basketball, is a huge icon, even more arguably since his passing. Founder of Brixton Top Cats, who really created opportunities for young people to play basketball professionally, both in Europe and in the US. But there was also a basketball tournament, a street ball tournament that was held here in the 1990s that was very popular, called the Rough House. I'm just going to play this video in the background, hopefully. Oh gosh, look at that, it works. Let me turn this on. And so this was at a time when Nike was sponsoring sporting tournaments in Brixton. This was an annual street basketball tournament played in the basketball courts in the rec. Look at all those lovely plants. And was really a kind of fixture and a destination for not only the basketball playing community or basketball watching community in London, but also as a sporting feature in a kind of annual calendar of events, especially for the black community in South London. These are lovely. The rec looks like very glamorous here. Speed it up a bit. Oh, here we go. You know, the Recreation Centre has a wonderful history, but also it speaks to the space as being necessary for community use because of especially the struggles of the black community in Brixton. You know, we're very grateful to all of the work that the Brixton Recreation Centre user group has done to get the building listed and to have to secure the building for future use. And I know everybody's maybe greeting it with anticipation, but everyone's looking forward to it coming back into Lambeth management. I'm very excited about what the future holds. It's a very young looking Michael Jordan. But you know, Brixton Recreation Centre was attracting the most important sportsman of the day. It's difficult to underestimate how famous Michael Jordan was at this time. Let's see. And then there was also the Rough and Ready basketball tournaments as well. So Rough House eventually transformed into Rough and Ready, slightly more 1990s, I'd say, early 21st century graphic design happening there. Rough and Ready was able to get even more sponsorship, even more kind of corporate sponsorship than Rough House was. And in my opinion, there is no reason that we can't, in the future, hopefully, also begin to attract sports corporate sponsorship to support the really important community work happening at the rec that people like Stedman and other trainers and coaches and important motivators are doing. And that we can see the rec come back into kind of this very glamorous prime. And then of course the bit that we all remember when we're thinking about the Recreation Centre is the visit by Nelson Mandela in 1996, if memory serves me correctly. It's important for us to recognise, or I will recognise, it's important for me to recognise, you know, Brixton was a site of, a particular site of the struggle against the apartheid regime that was led and held in the hearts of ordinary working people that lived in the area. There are around almost half a dozen memorials to the victims of the apartheid regime in Brixton. From Max Roach Park to Windrush Square, there are monuments to the victims of the Sharpeville massacre and of the Soweto massacre as well. Oliver Tambo and Adelaide Tambo are celebrated, Adelaide Tambo is celebrated in Brixton. The leader of the ANC, his name slips me for a minute, but we'll come back, is also commemorated on some of the buildings just behind us near Myattsfield Estate. So, but woven in the kind of built environment, these monuments, the naming of buildings, the plaques to the African leaders of the struggle, the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa, are also the intangible heritage aspects. And of course, the one that happened here in the Recreation Centre is a vital part of that. So, you know, when Lambeth Council was looking for a place to host Nelson Mandela, they turned to the Recreation Centre. They didn't turn to the South Bank Centre. They didn't turn to, I don't know where else they could go. But, you know, they came to the basketball courts of the Recreation Centre, and it was transformed into this amazing ceremonial, celebration and welcome for Nelson Mandela. Looking at this is making me think about, this is an interesting contrast to the ceremonial aspects that we're experiencing right now. And some of you might be familiar with the kind of the crowds that welcome Nelson Mandela on Brixton Station Road that have been used and reused as being so integral and vital to how people remember the wreck. So even though we have the photographs of these events, and Lambeth Archives have done a great job of preserving those photographs for people to use that aren't just press photographs, one of the things that hopefully the project will do is also add the recollections and experiences of people that attended this event, and that people that use the Recreation Centre in ways that we may be less familiar with. So this is a video, well, I'll play it in the background. Cool, doesn't pitch hard but young. So this is a video by a press video of Nelson Mandela. If I remember rightly, we'll see if the video tells me if I'm right or not. He went from Buckingham Palace to Trafalgar Square, where he spoke outside South Africa House, the kind of site of the apartheid regime in London for so long, and he was celebrated by crowds in Trafalgar Square, where so long there had been a picket outside South Africa House, and then he came to Brixton and was welcomed to Brixton. So of course we have a plaque, those brass plaques celebrating his visit, but wouldn't it be great to also have in the archives at Lambeth, who are about to move to Brixton Lambeth Archives, wouldn't it be great to also have some recordings of people as they remember just how electric Brixton was when Nelson Mandela visited. Hopefully, you can see another aspect of, Right, I thought I had a picture in here of some dancers as well, because when I was coming to the Rec, when I was young and optimistic, I would usually come here to go to the parties, to go to the dances. Probably the Abashanti sound system is probably the one that was going on for the longest that I'm aware of. Abashanti is a very well-known dub reggae sound system. They're playing deep dub. Sound system culture, the earliest documentation of Jamaican sound systems in the UK is in Brixton. Is in another Lambeth Council building, the Town Hall. The Town Hall hosted the earliest recorded sound clash taking place in the UK. So why is sound system culture so important? Sound system comes out of Jamaica in the 1940s. It's brought over in the mid-1950s with a man called Duke Vin, who creates his first sound system in the UK. And the Jamaican sound system is the crucible for every type of what young people tend to call EDM, what old fogies like me call jungle, dubstep, drum and bass, garage, drill. All of that comes out of Jamaican sound system culture, kind of the backbone of the British pop music industry. Started in Brixton, started in Lambeth Town Hall. and that is celebrated a month. So also the Brixton Recreation Centre as a site for these dances, not just tea dances, but also hardcore, bass-heavy dub as well. As a site of cultural production is also something that it's very important to document. So hopefully it's given you a kind of outline of the opportunities to document this often under-recorded aspects of history. Intangible heritage, because these are just things that are difficult to write down, and arguably things that aren't that attractive to researchers. So we're going to be looking at 4 key areas. We're going to be looking at sports leadership and interviewing people around sports leadership. We're going to be looking at the Recreation Centre and its environs. There was also a gallery, an important gallery downstairs on the corner of Station Road. We're also going to be looking at the Recreation Centre as a site of art and design and cultural production, not only in Brixton but more generally. Also going to be looking at the Rec as a site of social justice movements as well. So what are the meetings and conferences, the exhibitions that were hosted in rooms in Brixton Rec? But also I'm very interested in what was the struggle to, we speak about the struggle to keep the Rec here, but what can we contribute to the documentation of the struggle to open the Rec in the first place? I think it was 10 years between when the Rec was designed and when it opened. There was a reason for that delay. So how can we better document why that delay took place in the first place? And then finally, when thinking about the dances, the sound systems, is to speak to people about their experiences of partying in the Rec, of the conviviality of the pub, of the christenings that might have taken place here, the kind of family social events, as well as these commercial dances as well. So that's what is on the road ahead. And all of these memories, all history recordings will be documented or deposited at Lambeth Archives to form part of the archive of Lambeth for future generations to use, future people to use. And then much of this will also be listed, if not accessible online through a database online as well. And also we are inviting people to bring along photographs that they may have of events at the Rec, to share their trophies, their medals, any physical aspects that they have of memories of events at the Rec, to be photographed, or to be scanned, to also form a digital archive of the kind of physical, more tangible aspects of the impact that Brixton Recreation Centre has had in people's lives. So, you know, the people of Brixton, the Brixton Recreation Centre user group, the users and the staff at Brixton have done a wonderful job in making sure the design history of Brixton Recreation Centre is written into the historic record. And the next challenge ahead of us is making sure the intangible history of experiences of the Recreation Centre also forms part of that historical record as well. One of the things I'm inviting you to do is, as I said, I'm making a long list of the potential names to go up on that golden bricks in the Wall of Fame. So if there are people, trainers, administrators, community leaders who you think it's important to celebrate in the Rec, please do let me know. You can email me at the email address hello@revisitingbrixtonrec.org.uk, or you can tell me right now. Stephen's top of the list. But thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for coming out this evening, and I'm glad we were able to add this to the programme of Lambeth Heritage Festival as well.
That was fantastic. I think the pioneers who are here today, I mean, you know, I think we've got to really think about how to connect, because that was an amazing presentation. That if there'd been 300 people here, I'm sure they'd all have got a lot from it. And so I think if people can think about because I think people haven't got in the habit, have lost the habit of going out, and you know, they still, something comes into the inbox, they've sort of just lost that habit. They can't remember what pleasure it is. So I think that's great anyway to get to within that conversation centre. Thank you for coming. You see, 2 years ago we heard you. Just moving. Life moves slowly, doesn't it?